Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is Burgandy Bets. We gamble on football and we cash tickets. Joining me is one of the sharpest minds I know in this space, Daniel Lavan. Over here, before we get into this, go ahead, drop this video a like, sub to the channel so you don't miss any of this content going forward. Dan, we got 14 games to turn a profit on. We have huge news coming out of Los Angeles, Green Bay, Cleveland, Tennessee, and New York. But before we get into any of that, we got Thursday night football, New York Jets at the Indianapolis Colts. Line still 10.5 basically everywhere. How was your week last week? What do you think about going forward this Thursday night game and just the slate in particular?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me back. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
Last week was a little bit tough, I'm going to be honest, but I'm looking at this week. I like a lot of these spreads, and I'm excited to make some money.
Absolutely. I had a horrible week last week, going 3-7 on official picks, bringing my total to 66-50-1. But we're going to go back out there. We're volume shooters. What's the great one say? You miss all the shots you don't take.
Absolutely.
So 10.5 points.
Michael Scott.
Yeah. Hey, that one too. What was his? Yeah, something like that. Pretty close. Let's get right into the football. Indianapolis Colts hosting the New York Jets. We have the Jets, Magic Mike White coming off that historic game. First player since 1950, throw for over 400 yards and 3 TDs in his first start. Just pulling up the upset of it's going to be the year, in my opinion, over the Bengals. That loss killed a lot of people's parlays, teasers, you name it. The Jets destroyed it. And then we have Indianapolis on the other hand. We're up to a 14-point lead on the Titans. Crumbled. I used to think Jameis Winston was the most electric man in football. No longer. Carson Wentz has taken that spot. He's either going to, throw a 70-yard touchdown on a 30-second play, or he's going to do a hip toss, drop, 2-yard interception, pick six. It's electric what the guy does. You never know. It's must-watch TV. Jonathan Taylor.
Some people just don't understand his genius. If he hadn't thrown that pick six and gotten tackled for a safety, game would have been over. So,
you know what? That's one way to think about it. Although he did come right back and throw the interception to seal the game as well. It's just fun to watch. He's out there playing hero ball, trying to make every play count. It's not going to work in the long run. I do like the Colts as a team, though. Electric players like a Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman really coming into his own. T.Y. Hilton will be out for this game. His team's still battling injuries, but they do have other people still getting healthy. You do have guard Quentin Nelson on the injury report, questionable. He should suit up and play. What do you think about this spread? 10.5 is a lot. I did see this number come down to 10 on some books, came right back up. That hook seems to be important in this game. A lot of these 10-point underdogs seem to be covering now recently. The season's getting closer. We're at the halfway point. What do you think of the spread? What do you think of this game? Do you have a side, totals, anywhere you want to lean?
Well, to be fair, I love what happened last game with the Jets and the Bengals. I think everyone's going to buy way too high on the Jets and way too low on the Bengals now, which opens up just tons of opportunities for us. Still, speaking of this, I don't think I'd take a spread either way in this game. Mike White, I don't think he's going to throw for 400 yards again this season, but who knows? He could. Nobody knows anything at all about Mike White. Honestly, I don't really have a play on the spread or the over-under. The one thing I would watch out for is that the Jets really seem to spread out their yards over all of their wide receivers. Michael Carter had a great week last week, but I'd try and stay away from that. Looking over all of their wide receiver yards this season, they seem to be pretty spread out, and nobody ever seems to have this huge game except for one or two pop off here and there. So I'd stay off receiving props for the wide receivers, but other than that, I'd like to see, what happens with Mike White and see if they can keep that going into this week.
Yeah, I was very interested in the Michael Pittman receiving props of this game. I saw they were right around 56.5. But like you said, they do spread it around, and you never know. I mean, you could hit it on one play, or it could be a 4-catch 20-yard game. Interesting to see where the money is. A majority of the tickets are on the New York Football Jets. However, a whopping 80% of the cash on Indianapolis in this game. If you had a free play, total is in play too. One of the lower totals of the week. Opened up 45, has since gone up a little bit. I see 47s out there. What do you like on the total if you had a free play here? 47.
I'd probably take the under. The Colts defense has looked, I think, very good. Darius Leonard obviously is stud. I'd take the under, but like I said, who knows? Mike White, he might throw another 400-yard game and bomb some touchdowns out there. So tough to say.
Is Broadway Zach's job in question?
I think you'd have to see at least 3 more games before you make that question. But who knows? Maybe sitting on the bench for a couple games, watching a stud like Mike White out there slinging the ball might help him out.
Absolutely, absolutely. I did go ahead and make a play on this game. Thursday night football, I want to have some action on it, but I want to feel comfortable about my action as well. I didn't really like the line. I'm a little scared from last week. We don't know what's going to go forward. And this is the NFL. Double-digit spreads are very high. And when you have a quarterback that you're going to be gambling on, if you were to back the Colts like a Carson Wentz, you definitely could see a backdoor cover. You could see something happen that normally wouldn't happen. So what I did was I went ahead and saw value. I took Jonathan Taylor to score a touchdown and the Colts just to win the game at minus 150 on DK Sportsbooks. I checked a couple other sportsbooks. They were minus 200, minus 225. So I thought that was good value there. That's the play I have locked in. And I guess we'll keep it moving here. We have Denver Broncos at the Dallas Cowboys. Majority of the tickets and cash backing the Cowboys. Now, we just saw Dallas go into Minnesota with Cooper Rush at quarterback, and that just killed me too. I took Dallas beforehand. The line flipped 5 points. I got off Dallas. I did pick the under up in that game, which did cash. But we just see Cooper Rush comes out here, plays a good game, no big turnovers. Not even relying on the backs that much. Go down there, cover the spread, win the game on the road in Minnesota. While we have Denver then barely winning a game against the Washington football team at home. This line opened up Dallas minus 6.5, has since shot up to all the way to 10. It was Dallas minus 10.5 last night, has gone down to 9 in some spots. The total is interesting, 49.5. Thoughts here. We should have Dak back. I'm not sure if Michael Gallup's going to be back. I mean, this guy was put on IR, similar to a Tyrell Williams, when they're put on IR at the beginning of the year, where at the halfway point, they still haven't come back yet. I would assume he would be back by this week. Do you have any thoughts on this game? Is 10.5 too much to lay with Dallas with Dak presumably returning?
If Dak's back, absolutely not. I think Cowboys could cover this spread quite easily. The Broncos have looked awful. They're coming off a win, but I mean, that is against Washington, so you can't really say anything there. Broncos, I think they screwed a lot of people with those first 3 games, but they're not a good football team. They just aren't. And the Cowboys, a lot of people have them in their top 6, top 5s even in the NFL. So I'd say back the Cowboys minus 10.
Yeah, and Dallas has just been a covering machine. I think, what are they, 6-1 on the year ATS. I'm not going to step in front of that train, even if I like Denver, which I don't right now. Teddy Bridgewater is still nursing an injury. We saw Jerry Jeudy come back to the team. Didn't really seem to make that huge of a difference. It is only a 1 week sample size. We'll see what Denver looks like going forward. However, this is a team that is now 1-5 in their last, 1-4 in their last 5 games. They had those big 3 first wins, since kind of tailed off, beating the Washington football team last week. Dallas just continues to look better and better every week. I am also with you here on Dallas. I don't have a thought on the total. I did grab Dallas as soon as I saw that minus 6.5. I think right now the 10 you're still safe with. Maybe look at a first half play here. I did also throw Dallas in a teaser. And interesting note, majority of the ticket share is on the under that 49.5. I'm not so sure I agree with that. I think this could be a higher scoring game, but that's where I have my action. I do agree. I'm on Dallas. Now, if you had to throw either one of these teams in a teaser with Denver or Dallas, would you take Denver up to 16.5 or Dallas down to minus 4.5?
I'd take Dallas minus 4.5.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We're on the same page there. Moving on, still the 1 o'clock slate. Minnesota Vikings travel to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Vikings coming off that, we just talked about it, crushing loss to a backup quarterback in the Dallas Cowboys at home. They did not look great. Meanwhile, the Baltimore Ravens coming off a bye week. This team had a full week to prepare for this game at home. To no surprise, majority of the cash and tickets backing Baltimore here. This line open minus 5.5, at now minus 6, kind of the same thing. 49.5 is the total. Are we going to see Lamar get back to what he was after that bye week and then that uncharacteristic performance against Cincinnati the week before? Or do you think Baltimore's running into a little hiccup here midseason?
I don't think Baltimore's going to run any hiccup. I mean, they're going to end the season absolutely with a winning, record. I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs. I think the Vikings are a good team. I think they've had some terrible play calling. Kirk Cousins is so iffy. You can never know what's going to happen, but they have some, they just have some great players out there. Obviously, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. I think this one's so tough. I think I might watch that spread and take the Vikings to cover. But it's tough. The Ravens are a very good football team, and their defenses look good too. So, sure. I might be on the Ravens though. Or sorry, might be on the Vikings.
Yeah, no, I agree. Interesting trends here. Once again, we talk about trends, but every game is its own game. Ravens 4-0 ATS in their last 4 following an ATS loss. Ravens 6-0 ATS in their last home games following a team with a losing road record. But trends can be deceiving and push either narrative you want. Thoughts on a total at 49.5? I think this could be an over game. What do you think?
I agree. I think that could be an over.
Yeah, I probably will be backing that as an official play for the over. Once again, guys, official plays will be in the description of the video. Had a terrible week last week, going 3-7. Not too bad on the year, though. Still sitting at 66, 50, and 1. We got to get back, though. A lot of those player props killed me last week, so we're going to try to build our momentum. Player props probably usually dropped Friday morning. Saturday morning. So go ahead, check the video further on if you want to tail any of those picks or fade them. The choice is
you got to tail Ron's player props. He's the best in the game with them.
Oh, thank you. Far too kind. Yeah, geez, that Kyle Pitts prop killed me last week, and we have the news of Calvin Ridley, leaving the Atlanta Falcons, citing mental health issues. Good for him. If you need some help, go out there and get it. We just saw the terrible thing that happened with Henry Ruggs out there in Las Vegas. But I mean, Jesus Christ, Dan, you got 20-year-old millionaires living in Las Vegas. What do you think's going to happen? The guy's driving around at 3:30 in the morning on a Tuesday afternoon. Not good looks. Back to football, and hey, what do you know? We got the Las Vegas Raiders traveling to New York to play the Giants. Majority of the tickets and cash are on the Vegas Raiders. While I did see the juice moving towards New York. Right now, New York was -3 at -120, and you could get the Raiders +3, reverse that, -3 at +100. Giants at home, 3-point dogs, -120. Now, if you didn't know, the Las Vegas Raiders are going through a bunch of turmoil here. You have the John Gruden news. Now you have the Henry Ruggs news. And not too much better on the New York Giants. New York Giants have 13 staff members test positive for COVID yesterday. They do not know if it's a false test. They're going to retest these guys. But either way, a little bit of adversity here on both sides. As far as the football end of things, I thought the Raiders, they were a little bit of Fugazi, a Fusad during the beginning of the season. But you start adding up the teams that they beat. I mean, these wins are aging well, the teams that they have beaten. The Giants, on the other hand, 1-5. Then they lose Monday night. They do cover the spread? That Chiefs team, you just can't back them in spreads here nor there. Saquon Barkley may be back for this game. Not 100% on that. If he isn't, I do think Booker has filled in well in that role. He could be a 3-down replacement back for a lot of teams. Seems to have the skills catching the ball and running in between the tackles. I want to back the Raiders here, though. Even without a Henry Ruggs. I mean, we don't know if Darren Waller is going to be back, but guys like a Hunter Renfrow. Braylon Edwards. I mean, these guys can produce for this team. I'm going to be on Hunter Renfrow props. The guy has had no less than 5 catches, I believe, in the last 3 games. I like him a lot. No word if Josh Jacobs is going to be there, but Kenyon Drake also produces. I'm not too worried about it. I just don't feel comfortable backing this Giants team. I feel like the Raiders can go on the road and win by more than a field goal against this team. And we see with this special teams head coach, that's now the interim coach. I mean, he's got these guys ready to play. I mean, yes, the Gruden news was one thing, and now this is another thing, vehicular manslaughter, DUI, terrible. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these guys were much better friends with Henry Ruggs than they were with a John Gruden. So that might factor into them. But at the end of the day, for those 60 minutes, when you're out there between the lines, you are playing football. You're not worried about what Henry Ruggs is doing, at 2:00 in the afternoon on a 3rd and 8 when you got to run a slant. I feel like I can back the Raiders here. What do you think about the game? Am I crazy to be on the Raiders with everything that's going on? And we have a 46.5 point total. Thoughts? Take it away.
I agree about just about every single point you you hit on there. I think you can back the Raiders. These guys are professionals. It's awful news what happened with Ruggs. But yeah, I think the Raiders can pull out a win here. I agree. Renfro, I had in my notes to take his overs. I mean, we got to see where that drops at, but he's one of the smartest players in the NFL, I think, and he's been great at that position this year. Saquon Barkley, I believe, did test positive for COVID this morning. He is vaccinated, so he's going to need another negative test within 24 hours to be eligible to play. So we'll have to see what happens there. But yeah, I think Booker's done a pretty good job in his absence. But yeah, I am on the Raiders -3.
Great news. Okay. So we got a couple official picks here in the game so far. Thoughts on that total set at 46.5?
You never know with the Giants. I wasn't expecting them to put up as many points as they did when they played the Panthers. I would stay off the over. I don't think under. That one's tough. I like the Raiders minus the spread. I think I'll stay away from the over.
Good enough. Moving on. NFC South Showdown, we have the Atlanta Falcons traveling to New Orleans to play the Saints. Atlanta, coming off that loss to Carolina, divisional matchup. Atlanta was a lot of people's darlings. They thought they'd be able to cover that spread of 3 at home against Carolina. It just goes to show you the variance week to week in the NFL. Very unpredictable. And then we have the New Orleans Saints. Famous Jameis goes down with the injury. Out the season, torn ACL. Trevor Siemian comes in. Siemian he had a couple games starting and playing for the Denver Broncos. So there is a sample size out there on him if anyone wanted to go ahead and look that up. I'm not sure if we need to, though. I believe Taysom Hill is going to return. He has not cleared concussion protocol yet as far as the reports I've seen, but this is an early recording in the week. By come game day Sunday, I believe he will be out there and starting for this team. That being said, we talked about the Calvin Ridley news, no longer on the team. The playmakers on this team to step up in that sort of situation just didn't do it last week. I mean, we had Kyle Pitts. I was all over Kyle Pitts player props. We got him as soon as they dropped at 61.5. They were 76 come kickoff, and the guy didn't even get close to covering half the original number. I believe he had 30 yards for the game. Carolina did get pressure on Matt Ryan. The fact that now they're going to have to go on the road to the Superdome, play the Saints, who I think we can both agree have a better defense than Carolina, if not a more superior defense. How can the Falcons keep up here? I want to be over. Go ahead.
I don't think they can. I really don't think they can. The Saints defense, we all know, was fantastic last year. I think they got off to a bit of a rough start this year, but they showed again the Bucs against, I think also against the Seahawks. They are one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're absolutely electric when they get hot. And the Falcons missing such a key player like Calvin Ridley, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to keep up. Again, Taysom Hill coming back. I don't know if it's going to be him or Siemian. I don't really think it matters, though. I think the Saints walk away with this game pretty handily, even if they can't score a lot. I think their defense is going to keep the Falcons from scoring.
Thoughts on the total? One of the lowest totals of the week at only 42 points.
Makes sense to me. I mean, Falcons offense has not looked great. Saints defense has been very good the last 2 games. It's going to be a low scoring game.
I agree.
Michael Thomas also out for the season. I'm not sure.
Yes. It's very interesting. I thought maybe we could see Drew Brees come out of the booth and hop in there to take the second half of the season. But now with the Michael Thomas news out, he's certainly not going to be doing that. I'm very interested in taking players that I think are a focal point of an offense, like Alvin Kamara. However, we saw last year when Taysom Hill was the quarterback, the offense just was completely different. They weren't throwing the ball to Alvin Kamara. That's something I'm going to have to look forward at going forward from a props market. I usually like taking his overs on total and receiving yards. Not going to be able to do it now with Taysom at quarterback, and he's going to vulture a lot of those goal line looks. I mean, maybe going forward, the Taysom Hill rushing touchdown yards props are what we need to look at with this team. But I agree. I don't have a play yet. If I do, it would be on the Saints, and we don't need to spend too much more on that game. We'll move forward. we have the marquee game of the week. That's right. Strap in, folks. The Houston Texans travel to Miami to play the Dolphins. This line opened up Miami -7, has since gone down to Miami 6.5. Texans getting some early love. Would you believe it or not, we have a majority of the tickets and cash, according to PFF, on the Houston Texans. Early thoughts are that Tyrod Taylor could be back for this game or the next. Meanwhile, in Miami, the team isn't really giving Tua that much back of confidence as they were in trade talks with Deshaun Watson. Nothing materialized before the deadline. It will be Tua going forward for the rest of the year. We cashed Mike Gesicki's props again on this team. Only got it by about 2 yards this week. Wasn't the smash spots as before, but a cash is a cash. Now here, a touchdown favorite at home against the Houston Texans. I haven't dug into the yardage the Texans have given up to the tight end spot yet, but with a guy like Gesicki, I'm going to, if you can't tell, I'm going to be on his props again here, as long as the books don't superly overcorrect it. He's lining up in the slot. He's lining up out wide and 2 wide, 3, 4 wides. So I can't even do that kind of research. I just have to go off defensive allowed yards and then take it from there. That's going to be my spot in this game. Do I think the Dolphins can cover the 6.5? Yes, I do. There's just not many bright spots on this Houston Texans team, set aside from a Brandon Cooks. Thoughts on Texans at Dolphins?
Well, to quote the great Deion Sanders, ain't nobody care. Ain't nobody care about this game. This is awful. I would absolutely adhere to your Mike Gesicki props. I could never turn down one of your player props. But if I had to guess, I'd say the Dolphins cover the spread. But this game sucks. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. Total sitting at 46 points with 82% of the tickets and 90% of the cash on the under. No one expecting a lot of points out in Miami this Sunday. Moving on, we have the Buffalo Bills traveling to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. As you can guess, a majority of the cash and tickets are on the Buffalo Bills. Line opened up, Bills -13.5 on the road, has since gone up a full point. There are still 14s out there, but a majority of your books are going to have Jacksonville as 14.5 point dogs at home. Buffalo coming off of the bye week against Miami last week. I thought, I had Bills first half. I thought we were going to see a blowout here. They did cover that game in the end, didn't they? I know you had them full game. Yeah. They got last 5 minutes, they got a touchdown to cover that game. I don't know if this team just starts out slow and turned it on, or if it was just a divisional matchup. But that kind of first half didn't excite me to back this team going forward until I see something different. On the other hand, we have Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Did you watch the end of that Seattle-Jacksonville game? I don't blame you if you didn't, because it was terrible. They were down 28-0.
I did not.
Okay. Let me paint the picture for you. Down 28-0. Dan, what's 28 divided by 3? Divided by 24 divided by 8.
Oh, divided by 8?
Yep.
Fuck if I know.
3. 24 divided. They're down 24-0. Anyway, they go ahead. They score the touchdown. Urban Meyer decides to kick the extra point. So now they're down 7. The guy should have gone for 2. By kicking the extra point, he's now waving the white flag. He doesn't want to do the game anymore. However, he then decides to kick an onside kick, which then the Seahawks pick up and return for a touchdown. It was just the worst, some of the worst coaching I think anybody's seen in the National Football League in some time. I understand if you want to go for the onside kick, well, then go for 2. You make it a 2-score game with 2 minutes left. This guy decides to kick the extra point, make it a 3-score game, and then still kick an onside kick. Just terrible. I can't back him. This just might be complete fade Jacksonville the rest of the season. Thoughts here? Is 14.5 too much for you with Buffalo?
No, it's not. I took Buffalo, like you said, -14 against the Dolphins. That cash. The Buffalo, they definitely came off to a cold start in the first half. I don't know what that is, but Josh Allen, an electric player that he is, picked it up in the second half. I thought the trends were very interesting in this game. Also, the Bills 13-4-1 against the spread in the last 18 games. They've been, spread monsters so far. 6-1 against the spread the last 7 road games against Jacksonville. Take or leave that. But 9-1-1 against the spread in their last 11 games played in November. All those trends are pointing towards the Bills. I love the Bills. I love them coming into this season. I would take them as a spread. If you can get that at 14, I would say take it.
Yeah, I think the hook could be important here. I believe it was important in their last game with Miami right there. It's going to be interesting. One thing I did want to bring up here, the Jacksonville Jaguars are awful at covering your slot receiver. So I'm going to be all over the Cole Beasley props this week. Receiving props, not going to bank a touchdown or anything. But Jacksonville is terrible at guarding the slot receiver. I believe Cole Beasley will eat this week as soon as those props drop. The tough thing is, I think he just put up 100 yards last week, so they're going to be juiced a bit. But as long as they're reasonable, I think that's a great spot for this game if you didn't want to get on these double-digit spreads.
Love that.
Moving forward, Cleveland Browns travel to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. Now, some of the more interesting news that I saw before we hopped on this stream was that Odell Beckham Jr. was held out of practice today. Personal reasons, not injury related. I don't know if you saw, but I think it was 2 days ago, right before the trade deadline, OBJ's dad drops the video of Baker Mayfield just purposely not throwing, sort of a narration that it's not OBJ's fault. Baker's the problem. Get my son somewhere else. What do you know? The next day of practice, OBJ is held out for personal reasons. Do with that what you may. But, the guy had one catch for 6 yards in their last game, his worst performance as a professional that he started and played the whole game in his career. Meanwhile, the Browns, Baker Mayfield's got a lot of fire, a lot of heart in that game with Pittsburgh. Very interesting in such a tight game. I messaged you during the game. I didn't know you had the money line, but such a tight game. You have Chris Boswell go out on a fake field goal, get decapitated, concussion, out for the game. Somehow it doesn't matter. Pittsburgh still able to 4th and goal, throw an over 10-yard pass or a touchdown, complete on this team, win this game outright. And I just don't know what to do with the Browns anymore at this point. Meanwhile,
how about that?
Go ahead.
How about that no roughing the passer call on Boswell, by the way? Insane. Like, how do you miss that? Crazy no call.
Yeah, at that point, he is a passer. I know he's a kicker, but at that point, he is a passer. He was out of the tackle box. We'd have to, bring in Gene Steratore for that kind of information, maybe a Mike Pereira to give us the full definition. But it was wild. There wasn't really any recourse for that hit on Boswell, and he is out. And we don't know if he's going to suit up for next week either. Something to look forward to with that Monday night game, Pittsburgh and Chicago. Cincinnati, coming off the worst loss of the year, in my opinion, losing to the Jets on the road when they were double-digit favorites. I'm not going to shit on Cincinnati too much here. I still love Jamar Chase. I still love Joey Burrow, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. Defense has a lot of players. I just don't know if they didn't come up, if it was a letdown spot that last week and, Magic Mike just had the game of his career. You could see early in that game that the New York Football Jets came to play. It was early, and I tell you what, if Cincinnati didn't have those 2 back-to-back interceptions in the first quarter, this game might have got real ugly by halftime. As great as Mike White did, he did keep them in the game earlier. Joey Burrow, too, answered on multiple drives. The defense just couldn't get off the field. Is this a get-right spot for Cincinnati against a divisional rival at home? This line opened up -3. Not as much movement as the other -3s we're going to get into on this card, but it has gone down to -2.5. You can now get the Bengals at home under a field goal to cover this game. How does this game match up to you? Is it under in play at 47.5? Do you have a side?
I'm big on the Bengals spread here. Every team has an off game during the season. The Packers did week 1, Bills did week 1. I think the Bengals did last week. It's just going to happen. I think the Bengals, if it wasn't for game last week, I think they'd be 6.5 point favorites here. I took Bengals -2.5, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, when I capped this game, I had it at -5.5. So we're on the same exact page there. I'll probably have that in my card this weekend would be the Bengals play. I like the Browns. They got a gritty team. They should be a lot better than what their record shows, the team they have on paper.
Absolutely.
However, Cincinnati's team is a great surprise this year, and they have young players stepping up and making plays. And if the game's on the line and there's that game-winning field goal drive, I want Joey Burrow over Baker Mayfield. And
I think Baker's a great player too, but suffering to that injury, he's looked awful. Like he just has. He's missing wide open OBJ. I think that injury is affecting his game a lot more than people think, and I think that's why the Browns haven't been doing it.
Yeah, no, he's definitely gutting through with that torn labrum. Even if he was healthy, I think Joey Burrow's a class above. It is so early in his career to see
I
where they're
agree.
going to be at. But that's it. If they sign Baker, we're going to see this matchup for the next 10 years in the same division twice a year. So it could be great football to watch. I agree with you. I'm on the Bengals in this game. I think it's a good get right spot and maybe a little bit of an overcorrection like we talked about. You had this game, it's -6.5. I had it at 5.5. We'll be happy to lay the less than a field goal here in this game with the home team.
Yep.
Moving on, we have the New England Patriots traveling to Carolina to play the Panthers. This line opened up New England -3 on the road, has since gone up to New England -4. Majority of the cash and tickets on New England. That's no surprise after they came out and defeated the Chargers on the road. Great news for Carolina. Christian McCaffrey will be expected to be activated off IR and suiting up for this game. Thoughts on New England and Carolina? Do you like the 4 points at home, or would you lay them with the Patriots?
Tell you what, I like those 4 points a lot more before I realized McCaffrey was going to be back.
Not official yet, but everything expected to trend towards being activated this week. Yes.
McCaffrey's the most electric player in the NFL. I don't think anyone can really question that. That team was completely different with him there. That being said, Bill Belichick, Patriots, defenses looked great. Offense is definitely picking it up. Max Student looking better. I like the Patriots -4. I'm thinking if McCaffrey is confirmed to be back, I think this line might move, maybe a point or a half point or something. If that's the case, I'd still take Patriots.
I agree completely with everything you just said, and I do expect this line to move. Even if it's just Carolina backers, if the news comes out that Christian is starting and suiting up in this game, I don't see why this game can't come back to a field goal spread rather than a 4, as long as it doesn't get too high throughout the week. I believe when you have a player like a Christian McCaffrey or someone that is the difference between being inside the 20, inside the 10, and having to settle for a field goal, or having that player that can cross the goal line, I think particular players like that do have to move the spread. I'm right there with you. Other than, why do I keep pressing that? Other than that, any leans do you think we could get on a low number on a McCaffrey prop this week? Anything from New England that you like, or do you think Bill Belichick is just going to zero in on their best player like a McCaffrey, take him away? And Sam Darnold, I believe, is questionable for this game too with a concussion. This could be PJ Walker they're trotting out. So maybe it's just a New England smash spot here. I totally forgot that Sam Darnold news as well. He's not even clear to play in this game as of right now.
I think Bill Belichick is just gonna, Patriots defense has always been good under him, and I think they continue to be this game.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'd be very interested to see where those props drop at for McCaffrey, though.
He's gonna rushing props. I always like to get props when a player comes back from an injury or, a sustained time away, because usually they're lighter than where they should be. The problem is not just with McCaffrey, but any player. I mean, a guy coming back from an injury. For example, I had Sterling Shepard in the Monday night game with the Giants. 57.5 over. He's got 30 or 29 or something. He goes down. He's out for the game. The bet loses. You're going to take that risk anytime you take an over with a particular player. But I love McCaffrey. He's cashed so many props. Your total rushing receiving is definitely going to be over 100, maybe 110, something like that. And your rushing is probably going to be, 75, 80, somewhere around there. But those are good looks. I agree with you. You just have certain guys that just the offense runs through. It's hard to take an under on those, if anything, and you're always looking for an over. Total, one of the lowest on the week at 41 points. 60% of the cash, 60% of the tickets on the under, while 90% of the cash on the over 41.5. New England, Carolina. What do you think?
I love to hear that, because I was just about to say I think I like the over in this game, especially if McCaffrey's back. I would take the over 41.
Exactly, and I do believe that that's if that's a spot you like, I would recommend getting on it sooner than later, because once the news that McCaffrey is in, I do believe that total will go over as well. We talked about it, points between a touchdown or a field goal, and 41 I believe is low. Even if it is PJ Walker they're trotting out there. These are professional NFL quarterbacks. I mean, we just saw it. Mike White not only covers a double-digit spread, he wins the game. Cooper Rush not only covers the spread, wins the game. These guys are in the NFL for a reason. They can go out there. They can put up the points for a game. What's that?
I said Semien too. Or Semien.
Yep, Semien. Yep, he gets thrust in, goes out there against Tom Brady, and that Buccaneers defense wins the game. So, a lot of variance week to week, but we'll just keep that in mind as we go forward. Next game up, my favorite game of the week, hands down. I was very excited when I saw this number, and then the number started to go against me, and I got a little worried. Hey, did I miss something? What's going on? I'm talking about the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to the city of brotherly love to play the Eagles. Now, what worries me here, this line opened up Chargers laying 3 on the road, which I completely agreed with. Hey, that's probably where it should be. Then it goes down to Chargers minus 2.5 on the road. I jump on it right away. Hey, that's my spot. Cover a field goal. I love it. I check back that night. It's already down to Chargers minus 1. Now I'm worried. I check where the money is. A little hard to check where the money is. A lot of these books aren't up to date, and they're pulling their information from other places. But I see majority of the tickets and cash on the Chargers. Why is this line moving against them? It should be going the other way. It's always very scary. Check back this morning. It's already back up to 2. I'm not sure what to do here. I just think there's going to be a lot of built in from last week with the Chargers losing at home to the Patriots, and then Philadelphia going out there and absolutely motorboat dog walking the Lions in Detroit. I'm on the Chargers here. Like I said, I did check to see where if there was any injuries. We know Austin Eckler, he's a little banged up, but nothing saying these guys are going to be out or not playing. Thoughts on Chargers Philadelphia?
I've as someone who's watched every single snap of every Eagles game so far this season, I did not see vast improvement last week over any individual players. The big change is that we actually decided to run the ball for some reason. We had over 200 yards of rushing, which was a huge, factor in our win over the Lions. That being said, it's still the Lions. I don't think you can buy that much into that win of how much you won by. I'm officially now rooting for Eagles losses for draft picks. Roast me if you want this early in the season, but I got this Chargers line at minus 1.5 this morning. If you can get it at minus 2.5, I'd take it. Absolutely, take that all day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with laying, the 2.5 in this game. I already took the bet. I mean, this is probably a game I'm going to look to alt spread to 6.5. I don't see where the Eagles are better than the Chargers. Rush defense, they're obviously better. News what's Fletcher Cox might be on that trade deadline spot. He did not. He's still with the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe rush defense. The Eagles are better. They are much better than the Chargers, but anywhere else, I just don't see it. I think this is an easy smash spot for LA here, and I am all over it. What do you think about the total in this game? One of the higher totals of the week at 50 points.
I could see that total overhitting. I could absolutely see that overhitting. We know Eagles love some garbage time football in that fourth quarter, so I can see that covered.
Chargers 4-0 ATS in their last 4 games on grass. Okay, so not on turf. Under is 5-1 in the last 6 following an ATS loss. Not too many trends here that are going to push me one way or the other. Eagles 5-1 ATS in their last 6 week 9 games. I love these week trends. They're very interesting to put into a betting theory. What the team has done in week 9 in the last 8 years. Okay, moving on. We have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to San Francisco to play the 49ers. I thought this line was weak when it opened. Line opened up. San Francisco catching 3 at home has since gone down to basically a pick 'em last night and has now gone 1 point in the Cardinals' favor. Line currently sitting at Arizona -1 on the road. Majority of the tickets and cash on Arizona. We know J.J. Watt's out for the year. We know DeAndre Hopkins is nursing that hamstring. We know Kyler's a little banged up, shoulder, ankle. That being said, DeAndre should play in this game. For how long, we do not know. I believe Kyler's going to play all 4 unless something happens. San Francisco coming off of that win against Chicago. However, I was impressed by Chicago and Justin Fields in this game. I thought the Bears had a lot of moments against San Francisco. I think the Arizona Cardinals can have some similar moments there. I like the Cardinals in this game. It is a divisional matchup. I believe it will be a field goal game. I want to back Arizona here. I think the total is very interesting at 45 points. We have a majority of the cash and tickets also on the over in that game. Thoughts on Arizona, San Francisco? Take it away.
I mean, I said it the last time I was on the show, and I'll keep saying it. I don't believe in San Francisco at all. Garoppolo looked great, but I mean, there's a lot of things that happened in that Bears, 49ers game. If you watch it, like a 80-yard slant that went to Deebo Samuel that he took to the house. I mean, that sort of stuff plays a big factor when you can get some, momentum like that. I'm huge on the Cardinals here. I think there might be something I'm missing because I don't see why this is a pick'em game. I mean, I just took them at money line because that spread was at 0 when I opened up my book this morning. But yeah, no, I'm on Cardinals here. I don't see the 49ers beating them at all. But who knows? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe one of those injuries is a little more, maybe if Hopkins doesn't play or God forbid Kyler Murray doesn't play, then you'd be looking at 49ers. But right now I'm all over Cardinals.
Yeah, I want to back Arizona as well here. Yes, the Deebo Samuel stuff is very interesting. That he's just, I mean, the guy's number 2 in the NFL in yards right now. He's had 300 or 400 yards games this year. I mean, the only person that has more yards in the league than Deebo Samuel right now is Cooper Kupp, who somehow has over nearly 900 yards in 8 games. It's ridiculous. Thoughts are that Kittle could be back for San Francisco this game. Jimmy G had 2 rushing touchdowns. Name another time Jimmy G has had 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, I think that most of the guys had 1 in his career. I do not see that ever happening again in his career, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he, found his blue suede shoes and he's going to be running around out there. I think Arizona is the spot here too, especially, coming off of that loss. They had the loss to Green Bay. This team's got to be fired up. This team has Super Bowl expectations. I will take the Cardinals here. And I don't have a thought on the total here. 45 does seem low. Do you have a thought here? 45? Are you going to go over, under here?
I might take the over. I don't know. I said every week I say to myself, I have too many over-unders, usually Monday morning when half of them have lost. But if anything, I'd say look at the over.
Yeah, I think an over is a solid play here too. And still, Brandon Ayuk is still on milk cartons throughout the United States. If you do see that man walking around in the streets, please return him to the San Francisco 49ers. They need him. Moving on. Terrible news here. Green Bay Packers traveling to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. This was supposed to be the best game of the week, our marquee game. This line opened up with Green Bay getting 3 points. And I want to ask you something before we get into this, but let me finish this here. Line opened up, Green Bay getting 3. Then after the Chiefs game on Monday night, the Chiefs barely getting past a 1-5 Giants team. The line gets drawn to a pick'em. Then today we find out Aaron Rodgers, COVID-19, will not play this game. He's not vaccinated. He's not going to have enough time. He's got to produce 2 tests, 10 days. Long story short, no Aaron Rodgers. It will be Jordan Love leading the Green Bay Packers to Arrowhead. Now, before this happened, the majority of the tickets and cash were on Green Bay. The books adjusted this line to now Kansas City -8. It will be Jordan Love's time to shine. However, we do have the news Allen Lazard is back, but still no news on Marquez Valdez-Scantling. No news on Devontae Adams yet at this time that these guys are going to be out there helping Love on the field. Kansas City continued to struggle. Kansas City could have had 4 interceptions in that New York Giants game. I watched the entire game. The Giants dropped 2 picks. I don't know what's going on with this team. Kelsey was nearly invisible. Teams are just playing too high safety on them, forcing them to play underneath. Now, it was nice to see Patrick Mahomes using his check down, so his running backs taking the 5, 6, 7 yards when it was available to him, and they're getting Tyreek Hill involved on the shorter slant routes rather than those deep crosses and go routes. Obviously, I mean, you got to think Green Bay is going to be at a huge disadvantage in this game without their leader. Green Bay, Kansas City, take it away.
It's a shame. The Chiefs have been the story of the year. I like how you touched on Kelsey having almost nothing last game because, if you're playing too high safety, he is Mr. Yak. Like, he's yards after catch because he usually is in that, short catch and pick up a couple yards after. But their offense just hasn't looked good. We all know their defense is bad, but their offense has been able to carry them for as long as they've been good. I'd still take them on the spread. We know nothing about Jordan Love, really. We've seen almost nothing from him. I don't even know if he played a full, game last season. Did he play at the end?
Our most recent would be this preseason, and he didn't look terrible. Obviously, as a preseason, it's not against starting players, but the way this Kansas City Chiefs defense is looking, maybe they should go out there and pick up some of those preseason players. Might be an upgrade. He was decent in the preseason. He has been behind now Aaron Rodgers for going on now this full season and a half. You got to think he's been better. I know there were those videos of him, completely missing the net on rollouts on passes earlier. But I don't know. I like the total in this game. 48. I know the Giants just laid an egg here. I think the Green Bay is a better team, even without Aaron Rodgers than Jordan Love than Daniel Dimes is with the Giants. I'm not going to lay the 8 with Kansas City. I can't do it. This team just does not cover spreads. I believe they're 2-14 in the last 16 games against the spread. It's very, 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 very bad. But they continue to get the love from the books because they are the Kansas City Chiefs, and we like to back them. Public bettors, sharps, we all like to bet the Chiefs. Name power is there. At some point, you just feel like this team's going to get it together. However, week after week, they continue to let you down if you have a ticket on them. There's nothing I can really think about to do in this game. Player props, I can't even touch Kelsey, Hill maybe is the only one you could back in this game going forward. Kelsey's props, Kelsey's had, I think, 200-yard games. If you go through his stat log for this year, we're talking 30 yards, 40 yards, 60 yards, and his props are always right around 80, so there's not even many spots to look at on this game. Anything I'm missing here that you want to throw in?
No, I agree with you too. Just to be clear, I'm staying off this game. It was just I would take Chiefs if I had to pick a spread. But the Packers, personally, I have them number 2 in my NFL power rankings, and you don't get that from just your quarterback. Right. However, Devontae Adams also possibly being out with that mix. That's an electric duo right there. And if you're missing both of them, that's tough to continue to put up points. I can never back a quarterback that I've never seen play a full NFL game. I couldn't put money on them, but it's tough. You never know. They may come out. Packers, obviously, the last time they had a backup quarterback come in that was sitting out for a couple of years was Aaron Rodgers, and you see what happened there. So who knows? Maybe the Packers have the recipe for backup quarterbacks, but I'd like to stay off this game.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on staying off that game. It's not something that I can back right now. So we'll just move right on. And now more bad news. Tennessee Titans traveling to the Los Angeles Rams. Derrick Henry out for the season. Everyone rushing to their waiver wires and their fantasy leagues to pick up Jeremy Nichols and Adrian Peterson. This line opened up Rams -6.5 and is now Rams -7.5. Not as much movement as I thought I'd see from this. I put the Rams in a teaser right away with Dallas once these lines dropped. But I thought we'd see a higher increase in line movement here with the news of Derrick Henry being out in this game. It's only really gone up a point. Tennessee possibly getting some buyback here because they are a good football team, getting a touchdown here in this game. Then we have the news. Von Miller, the Los Angeles Rams, trading a 2nd and 3rd round pick to the Denver Broncos, getting the all-world pass rusher to put alongside Aaron Donald with Jalen Ramsey roaming that backfield and the other elite players. There's no way I'm stepping in front of the Los Angeles Rams at any point in time this season. This team is a absolute fucking wagon. I continue to put together 2-team first half parlays. It's always the Rams that cover every single time, and it's always the team I back them with that does not. From now on, I'll probably just lay the -200 or whatever it is with the Rams because they just are on another stratosphere right now. The chemistry Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp is ridiculous. I don't know if we've seen anything like it since like a Marvin Harrison's days with Peyton Manning or maybe when Brady had Randy Moss. It's ridiculous the amount of yards like these guys are putting up per completion. Now, I understand some of that's against bad competition. I still think they're going to have a field day against nearly anyone they play. These guys are going up against this elite Rams defense every day in practice. Now they're getting out there against lesser competition, and they're just having fun. Meanwhile, Tennessee now, Julio Jones still questionable. AJ Brown out there. He's going to have a huge game if they want to be competitive in this game. I believe Ryan Tannehill is going to have to do a lot. It just seems like a tall ask for the Titans with the bad news coming off that electric win against the Colts, the division foe. Now they have to go on the road, SoFi Stadium. Thoughts here, 7.5, too much, not enough. Where are you going?
Rams are the best team in the league.
Right.
It's not a question for me. I know you and I saw this happening the second we got that news of the Stafford going to LA trade. Obviously, the biggest player on the Titans, their best player is out. That's a huge deal. Julio Jones is out. That's a huge deal. AJ Brown is a stud. I mean, you saw it in the second half of last week's game, but in the first half, he had, I believe, 0 receptions. Like it was insane. So I don't know. AJ Brown's gonna have to be huge here, but that Rams defense, I mean, especially adding Von Miller, I don't think Tannehill's gonna have time in the pocket at all. I would take the Rams minus the spread here, minus 7.5.
Yeah. And a lot of AJ Brown's, his bread baskets, so, yards after the catch, the guy, he might put up a, 3 catch, 110-yard game for you. He has a lot of big plays down the field. But I 100% agree. This is, like I said, the Rams are a wagon. I'm not stepping in front of them at all. First half was Rams minus 5.5 to anyone that was looking at that here. Trends, the over in a lot of these games. And I think that happens again here. My worry would just be Tennessee being able to put up, but they're going to have to throw the ball. They do have playmakers on the outside. I can definitely see that happening. It is one of the higher totals of the week at 53.5 points. 58% of the tickets on the under, while 87 for cash on the over. That is your Sunday night game. Everybody who lost money during the week is going to be running to that game to try to get it all back. Or the people that had great weeks are going to try to double up on that game. There should be a ton of action on it. We should see this line continue to move if you like it one way or the other. We're wrapping it up here. Monday Night Football.
Real quick before we wrap it up, what do you think? What do you think those AJ Brown receiving props are going to be at?
High 80s.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
You gotta think with Jalen Ramsey most likely lining up against him. That might be something you look at the under. I don't know.
Yeah, the problem with Jalen Ramsey is they're using him. I think he's only played man coverage, I think like 9% of the year. They're using him as like a sort of like a middle linebacker safety, like zone neutral guy. Like he just paroles. He's fucking everywhere. He's everywhere on the field. He's always in every tackle. I don't know. Is Julio going to be back there? That's a huge mark. If they have any fucking chance in this game, you would imagine they would have to have Julio Jones. It doesn't matter who you are. When you have Julio Jones on one side and AJ Brown on the other, it's going to be a little difficult. You're going to, maybe just double teaming those guys, leaving 5 in the box is an option. But I think we'll have high props this week. This is one of the highest totals of the week. I imagine everyone's going to have high props. Speaking of prop market, I mean, I know when you log on and you see Cooper Kupp and it says 95, it says 93, it says 97, you're like, fuck, that's too many. The guy just smashes it every week. I think he hasn't hit that number only 1 week this year. So that's something to look forward to in this game also with one of the highest totals of the week. I think the Rams have a projected 27.5 point team total also. So something to look at moving on that game, Sunday night game. Chicago Bears, Pittsburgh Steelers. This line opened up Pittsburgh minus 6.5 at home and has sat right there. Chicago Bears, they're looking better. Khalil Herbert cashed his player props. He's now done that 3 weeks in a row. Looks like he has just eclipsed Damon Williams in the backfield for that starting job. He's getting all the workload. Great in the receiving game as well. Justin Fields. Did you see that play Justin Fields had?
I saw it. Yeah.
Gee, I mean, the kid's special. No Matt Nagy there. He had his best game of the season.
The kid ran 50 yards for a 20-yard touchdown. I mean,
yeah. Finally, those props that we were looking at the beginning of the year are starting to come to fruition now. Hopefully, for Chicago's sake, Matt Nagy is not cleared to play or not cleared to be in the facility, and they can just continue on with what they've been doing. But they do have a stout defense here in Pittsburgh. Say what you want about Big Ben Roethlisberger. This defense is still one of the top units in the league. Thoughts on this game? I think this line's probably really right at 6.5. I don't have a lean. What's your thoughts?
I don't have a lean either. I mean, I'd like this game's going to stink. It's why the under is so low. Neither of these offenses are very good.
Lowest of the week.
Yep. Steelers defense is great. I mean, obviously you're going to always want to be looking at Najee Harris, receiving props and rushing, obviously total. Khalil Herbert's looked very good so far as well. So, I mean, I'd look at both of those when they drop. I mean, I'd defer to you for both of those, but yeah, I'd stay off this spread. I'd stay off this over under too, because I wouldn't be surprised if this under hits and it's just a crappy game, or who knows. But it's so low, but you can't trust either of these offenses. I don't know who's going to be kicking for the Steelers either, so it's tough.
It is tough. How about these to make it a little tougher for you? Steelers 0-7 ATS, their last 7 as a favorite. Steelers 0-6 ATS, their last 6 as a home favorite. Bears 0-5 ATS in their last 5, allowing more than 350. Bears 1-9 ATS, their last 10 road games. Bears 1-7 their last 8 games as an underdog. Can we pick either or both teams to lose?
If you could, maybe pick something to go into overtime at the 0-0 game.
It's not a bad look. That's not a bad look at all. Okay, well, there it was. That was the entire week 9 slate. We'll have official picks in the description of the video below. Anything else you got?
I might actually take Justin Fields to throw an interception in that game. I mean, they're not going to be able to rush against the Steelers, not be able to run against Steelers defense a whole lot. So who knows? That might be something to look at.
Well, you do like those interception props. Let's just pull it up here real quick. What do you got? Justin Fields possible. What about Jordan Love?
I'd stay off it. I really don't know. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is, I don't know, his might drop in 1.5.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised at looking at like a Jalen Hurts. Wouldn't be surprised whoever's suiting up for the Panthers. I wouldn't be surprised looking at one of those. But you know,
yeah, that's a great look as well.
They're hit or miss, but
yeah. Forgot to bring it up in that New England Panthers game. It will be Stephon Gilmore, Gilly Lock out there, revenge game playing for his old team. So I'm gonna have to see where he lined up last week, and if he did stay on one side of the field. Because if he's covering a DJ Moore or a Robbie Anderson, I would hope it'd be Robbie Anderson. That would be a smash spot for Robbie Anderson's under yardage. All right. Well, hey, that was awesome. I think we got a lot of good picks here and plays. Once again, guys, we'll have them in the description of the video. Dan, before I let you out of here, you have UFC 268 this weekend. Your man, Justin, the Highlight Gaethje, in the co-main event. He's taking on Michael Chandler. Gaethje is -200. Seems like a lot, guys, but in mixed martial arts, that's basically lines you're going to get, and that's actually pretty easy. 2-1 favorites. A lot of these lines you're going to get are, -300, 400, 500, and on up. I know that's not your cup of tea, but that's your guy. Is he going to get it done this weekend?
I'd love to back Gaethje there. I mean, he's an electric fighter. Even if you do lose, it's going to be a great fight. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's going to fight for your money 100%. I agree completely. Well, hey, there you have it, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, going over these lines. Once again, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. That's Daniel Lavan at DAN_LAVAN. Give him a follow on Twitter. He's always got stuff going on. Funny little clips throughout the games, especially if you're an Eagles fan. You might enjoy that. Dan, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I greatly appreciate it. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Can't wait to do it again next time. Thanks, guys. This is Burgandy. This is Daniel. Later.